It usually does that. All right, come sit down. What? Oh, you want that little whatever? All right, tonight we're going to read from the Read and Learn Bible, and we're going to continue reading about some of the signs and wonders that Jesus did.
A storm.
The word miracle does not show up in the Bible. That's a word that comes later. So when people say, oh, that's a miracle, well, it's not a Bible word, right? So what's the difference between something incredible happening and something like a sign? Because do amazing things happen all the time?
No.
Yeah. And so we have to be careful that we don't start making definitions for words and being really strict about a word that's not in the Bible. So Stevie, what is a sign?
A sign when God performs a special wonder, like when he made the sun stand still.
Okay. What else can it be? Ania?
It could be something that God shows you, like when Gideon asked for the sign of the fleece to be wet and the ground to be dry. You can tell that.
Yeah.
That was from God.
Is it outside the realm of physical possibility that the dew might get the ground wet and not the fleece?
Yes.
Are there circumstances in which that could happen? Yeah. Right, but Gideon asked for it to happen that way, and then he asked for something else to happen the next day, and God did those, so that's a sign.
But Daddy,
God did something to make his will known. Or God did something to prove what somebody said. Like the prophet of God who was sent down and was told, don't eat anything until you get back. And then he ate a meal, and he was going home, and the lion attacked him and killed him. Right, and then the lion was laying down next to the donkey. Can that happen?
yes.
Yeah, it could. Is it common?
No.
The lions don't usually just target people and then graze next to their
Right.
enemies.
It's he wasn't grading. He was just chilling out.
Did
Right?
he eat that guy?
He killed him.
You didn't
Didn't
eat
eat him?
No.
That's
So-
not common.
So it's not common, but it's not like the sun stopping, right? So it's not always something that like that. Yeah. Go ahead.
A sign can also just be, or I was going to answer earlier, like just a signal from God, like to prove something.
Like
Like when Jesus was preaching, he would sometimes do miracles to prove, or like wonders or signs to prove that he was actually from God.
yeah, like feeding people with thousands of people with just a few loaves of bread.
I thought it was 5 loaves and 2 fish.
There's different. He does it a few times. Right? So that is a sign or a wonder, and it's something to get your attention. Right? It doesn't always have to be something that there's no explanation for. Right? There's no explanation for somebody feeding thousands of people with 5 loaves of bread. That just doesn't happen.
Or
Right?
turning water into wine.
So there's no explanation for that.
Yeah.
But is it possible? I mean, could the circumstances exist where what Gideon asked for just happened? Like you put a fleece on the ground and it doesn't really get wet, but the ground is kind of dewy. Yeah, that could happen. But Gideon asked for one thing, and then the next day the opposite, and they both happened. So that was a sign, right? So what we're seeing Jesus do is we're seeing Jesus perform signs and wonders. Now, Jesus' signs and wonders are especially amazing. Right? I think what Jesus is doing is even more amazing, like with the bread. That's even more amazing than making the sun stop. Because Jesus is creating something from nothing.
Something from that.
Who else creates something from nothing?
No one. What did you
Stevie?
mean?
God. When
And
you
by
created
God,
the-
who do you mean?
The Father, I mean,
And who else?
the Son and the Spirit.
And yeah, Yahweh, right? Jehovah. The Father, the Son, and the Spirit in the very beginning made everything. From what?
Nothing.
Nothing, right. Okay, so that's what we're talking about.
What is nothing?
It's what rocks dream about. All right, so a storm in Galilee. One day in Galilee, Jesus and his... Lily, we're reading from the Bible.
Always something.
Look. One day in Galilee, Jesus and his disciples wanted to cross the lake. Have you ever had a lake in your way?
Yes.
And you just decided, we're going to cross it. Well, Jesus was crossing the lake. So, he got into a helicopter and started... Wait, is that right? No, what did he get into? A hovercraft.
No.
They got into the... Oh, what?
A boat.
A speedboat.
A Bible?
A speedboat.
A boat.
A
They got into a
speedboat.
boat. The lake was really tiny.
No, it was huge.
It was huge, yep. In
puddle.
fact, they called it the Sea of Galilee. It was really, really big. So the lake was very big. When they got, just so you kind of know, anytime you can see a lake on a map, it's a big lake. Right? When you look at Florida, you know there's a little dot in the middle of Florida. That's Lake Okeechobee. And Lake Okeechobee is so big that when you get in the middle of Lake Okeechobee, you can't see land.
Oh, that's gonna be scary.
Right? I remember being a little kid out in the middle of Lake Okeechobee and you can't see anything. It's like being out on the ocean. And that's a little big lake. Right? There are
What about
lakes.
the Great Lakes?
They are like oceans.
That
Right?
is like,
They are
like
huge.
Michigan.
Yes, they're huge. Right? So the Sea of Galilee, it's a huge lake. It's so big that I bet when you get in the middle of it, you can't see.
Either side.
Yeah, it's big, right?
Daddy, what about Salt Lake? Is that even
Never been there. Never been there. Right?
Whatever.
So the waves, what happens is that as they're going along, a storm comes and it starts to blow, and the waves in the lake splashed up into the boat. Jesus was in the back of the boat with his head on a pillow, asleep.
Hey, Dad, that sounds like Jonah.
It
Jonah
does
was
sound
the
like
bottom deck.
Jonah. And what did the people say when they came down to Jonah? What did they say?
Pray to God.
We're all
Awake,
gonna die.
awake, O sleeper,
We're gonna die.
arise. Right? And actually, we think it's an early Christian hymn that you can see later. I think it's, if I remember right, it's in the book of Hebrews. It says, "Awake, O sleeper, arise, and Christ shall shine upon you." Right? So they connected. The early Christians connected Jonah with Jesus. Isn't that cool? So you're exactly right. Hey, Lilybug, come here.
But what does...
You two, then leave her alone. Sit on the floor. Right there. Turn around. Boop, boop, boop. There. Sit down. Sit down. Right there. Yeah. Okay. The disciples woke him up and they said, "Teacher, teacher." Or what other word might we hear? Starts with an R, ends with Rabbi. Yeah. Yeah, Rabbi, Rabbi. That would be teacher.
We're gonna get killed.
We're about to drown. Jesus got up and he told the winds and the waves, what did he say?
Cease.
Peace.
Still.
Be still. Or here they say, be quiet. Same thing. Right?
Quiet.
Greg,
Sit
come
in
back.
the corner.
Now what did the winds do? The wind said,
Stop.
the wind said no.
No.
Oh.
Yep. It
What did it do?
stopped. It stopped.
Stop.
No, it said.
And the waves, what did they do?
They stopped. There's a boat.
Have you ever tried to tell the winds to stop?
Yes.
Yes.
Did it
Let
listen?
me go try that, Dad. But
No.
it blew my shoes.
I remember one time, listen, one time I was a little boy and we lived in Florida and I went outside and it was raining and I went to the end of the driveway and I had remembered this story and I got to the end of the driveway and I yelled, "Stop!" And you know what happened?
You get rain.
It stopped. And I was like, and then you know what happened?
It rained.
It rained again. so for about 10 seconds, I was like, whoa! And then it rained. Right? So
And you got some.
Jesus said, "Stop. Peace, be still." And everything was calm.
No, they
It's all
never
calm.
froze.
Shh. Jesus asked his disciples, "Why were you afraid?" Why were they afraid?
Because they were about to die.
They thought they were going to die.
I feel afraid.
No. And what answer is raise your hands. Stephen, why were they?
They didn't have enough faith in Jesus.
Okay. They didn't have enough faith in Jesus as what?
God.
As the Creator. As the Messiah. As the Son of God. Is God going to make all this huge creation and send His Son to earth and then
Let me down.
let Him drown?
No.
No, that was not the plan. Lilybug,
Here's the
come sit
plan.
down. And Jesus has been telling His disciples, right? Jesus will be telling His disciples that it's not my time yet. Right? Remember that when He went to go to Nazareth? What did the people in Nazareth do to Jesus? Did they throw Him a big party and say, "Oh, hey, Jesus, glad you're here"?
They tried to chuck him off a cliff.
They tried to throw Him off a cliff. And what did Jesus do?
He just walked right through.
He walked in
It's
between
like in
them.
our video game.
Nothing happened.
You know, Jesus wasn't the only person.
Shh. No side comments. You can raise your hands to answer questions. Right? So he just walked right through them. And they have seen him do amazing things. And at this point, do you think maybe they should have realized that, you know, if Jesus is in the boat and Jesus is asleep, we're probably going to be okay. Steve, if this is an advanced question, let's save it for the older people.
No, I was just thinking about something. The Jews,
Gregory, come here, buddy.
they probably should have noticed when they tried to throw him off the cliff
Come here.
that he just didn't get thrown. They couldn't get him.
There's lots of things they should have noticed.
I mean,
But we shh.
because they were.
Shh. We are blind. We are made blind by our own perception. They didn't see Jesus as anything other than Joseph's son. And because they had known him when he was little, they didn't think he could be anything special. And so they were blinded by what they thought they knew. Mark Twain said, "Get down and come over here." Mark Twain said, "It's not the things we don't know that get us into trouble. It's the things we think we know that just aren't so." All right, so there's lots of things they should have figured out, but they had other thoughts in their brains that were keeping out the truth. That can happen. So we have to be very careful. The men in the boat were amazed, and they said, "Who is this, that even the wind and the waves obey him?" Right?
Haven't they been wandering around with him for like years?
Yep.
And they say, "Who is this?"
Yep.
They're not very fast on the pickup.
Yep. But you know what? Neither are we. We do the same stuff.
It's mine.
Okay. There is a wonderful song that talks about how Jesus is the Lord of the deep, called Eternal Father. We're not going to sing it right now, but I want you guys to start memorizing that song. It's very pretty. Listen, please. Shh. We're going to talk very quickly. We talked the past couple nights about where your words from. They come from your heart. No, you're wrong. They come from your larynx. Right? There's vocal cords in there, and they vibrate. No, yes, you're right. They come from your heart. What does your heart mean? The chunk of muscle in your chest that squeezes blood around?
Your thoughts, your love, your feelings.
Basically your brain.
Who you are. Who you are. Right? It's who you are. And so your thoughts come from, your words come from who you are. So you want to be somebody who says encouraging and life-filled things. The Apostle Paul says, "Let no corrupting speech come out of your mouth." What is corrupting speech? Give me the rest of it. What is corrupting speech? What does corruption mean?
It needs to be like
I can't hear you.
Go sit by
Zane?
It needs to be like ruined or destroyed.
Okay, it's actually rust. I think Stevie was going to say rust. Like when you think of how metal rusts and it's destroyed and it becomes brittle and it breaks, that's what corrupting talk means. Your words destroy people. When you say unkind things, when you say unloving things, your words slowly destroy people. Because the words that you say get stuck into people's brains and they rattle around inside their head and it slowly tears them down over time. Right? I would rather somebody punch me in the face than say mean things to me. Because they can punch me in the face and in a couple days I'll be all better and it won't hurt anymore. But the mean things that they say will rattle around inside my head for the rest of my life. And so you're going to run into people who say mean things to you. And you have to learn to just shut their voices out. But you should never be somebody whose words destroy other people. You are to let no corrupting talk come out of your mouth, but only say things which build up. Right? You are to encourage people with your words. You are to show love to people. Jaden, you need to listen to this. You need to show love with your words. If you say terrible things to people, what are you?
Terrible person.
How come you're a terrible person?
Your words come from your heart.
Your words come from your heart. Right? Nobody is perfect. So sometimes people say things they shouldn't. Right? But if you consistently say bad things, what are you?
Terrible.
A bad person. If you consistently do bad things, what are you?
Bad person.
A bad person. People want to do bad things and then say, oh, I'm not really a bad person. Actually, yes, you are. They want to say bad things and then say, oh, I'm not really a bad person. Actually, yes, you are. Because your words and your actions come from your heart, which is who you are. Right? So if you are changing to become more like Jesus, Jesus spoke life into people. Jesus encouraged people. Jesus showed love with his words. And even when Jesus was angry with people and Jesus told people that they were wrong, he did it. He did it so that they would see that they were wrong and that they would change and become right. And so everything you say needs to be said because you love who first?
God.
And then who else do you love after that?
Man.
Your neighbor. Your neighbor. You love God first, and then you love other people. And if you love God and you love other people, what room is there for hateful speech? None. Right? The words you say, not only do they show people who you are, but the words that you say will make people live a better life or a worse life. It will encourage people to do the right thing or tear them down so they will do the wrong thing. Your words are very, very, very powerful. So powerful that Jesus says you will give an account for every idle or useless word that you say. So, is running around saying silly, gibberish, goofy things a good idea? No. We need to be careful, right? And the older you get, the more careful you will learn to be. Right? So our words, are they important or unimportant?
Important.
Very, very important. In fact, remember last time we talked about how Jesus says you have heard that it says you shall not murder, but then Jesus says, I tell you, if you hate your brother, you're in trouble. If you're angry at your brother, you're in trouble. If you say to your brother, you dummy, you're liable to the hell of fire. Now, when you say something, right? They didn't do anything, but they said something, and Jesus says your words are so powerful that you will be held accountable on the day of judgment for what you say. All right, so let's go ahead and pray. Let's do circle part. Oh, she picked Zane. She's like, come on, I'm going to hold your hands, guys.
I am Stevie.
All right, let's pray.
Does this have to say
All right, let's pray.
No, ma'am.
Our Heavenly Father, thank you so much for all the good things that you show us in the Bible and all the wonderful blessings you give us and all the wonderful things that you have made. Thank you so much for teaching us to use our words to show love and kindness. Thank you for showing us a better way, a loving way, and helping us to become better. We love you so much and are so thankful for Jesus. It's in his name we pray. Amen. All right. Girls to the girl room. Boys to the boys.